Right now, buying a home could be the worst financial move you make in 2026. A massive housing crisis will trap millions in a financial nightmare they never prepared for. If you live in one of these 10 states, your time to build a contingency plan is rapidly running out. We are looking at a mathematical certainty driven by rising inflation and stagnating wages. Mortgage rates continue to fluctuate wildly, creating an unstable foundation for the entire economy. Yes, this is the harsh reality we face today. Many people still believe the housing market will eventually stabilize and return to normal. This assumption is deeply dangerous and leaves families entirely unprepared for the coming shock. Economic indicators point toward a massive market correction that will wipe out generational wealth. As a prepper, you must look at the data objectively and ignore the comforting mainstream narrative. We must prepare for a scenario where millions lose their primary shelter due to financial collapse. If not now, when will you start taking this threat seriously? Number one on our list of vulnerable states is California. The state is currently experiencing a massive population exodus driven by astronomical living costs. Local governments are aggressively increasing property taxes to cover massive state budget deficits. This heavy tax burden makes long-term homeownership unsustainable for the working middle class. Furthermore, strict environmental regulations have completely halted affordable new construction projects across the state. The Golden State is rapidly becoming an inescapable financial trap for average homeowners. Coming in at number two is New York. Urban decay and rising crime rates are actively pushing residents out of major metropolitan areas. Despite this outward migration, local housing prices remain artificially high due to corporate property monopolies. Property taxes here are consistently among the highest in the entire nation. Normal families simply cannot keep up with these compounding financial pressures year after year. This creates a highly volatile housing bubble that is perfectly primed to burst by 2026. Number three on our critical list is Florida. This state faces a unique and terrifying crisis regarding the collapse of property insurance. Major insurance companies are pulling out of the state entirely due to increasing environmental risks. Those who can still get coverage are paying monthly premiums that rival their actual mortgage payments. Without affordable insurance, the real estate market will inevitably crash as banks refuse to issue loans. It is a simple mathematical equation that ends in a severe financial disaster. You might be wondering how this widespread collapse is even possible on a national scale. The core answer lies in the aggressive and continuous devaluation of the US dollar. Inflation has dramatically increased the cost of basic building materials like lumber, concrete, and steel. Severe labor shortages in the construction industry further drive up the cost of building new homes. This means the supply of new, affordable housing coming into the market is virtually zero. Yes, the system is fundamentally broken from the inside out. Number four on our watch list is Texas. For many years, Texas was the primary destination for affordable housing and economic freedom. However, this massive influx of new residents has severely strained local infrastructure and resources. Property taxes in Texas have skyrocketed recently to compensate for the lack of state income tax. Many new homeowners are now facing annual tax bills they physically cannot afford to pay. The recent Texas housing boom is quickly transforming into a dangerous debt trap. Number five is Nevada, a state highly vulnerable to sudden national economic shifts. The housing market here is heavily tied to the stability of the entertainment and tourism industries. When the broader national economy slows down, these non-essential sectors are always the first to crash. Massive job losses in these industries will trigger an immediate wave of mortgage defaults. Additionally, severe water scarcity issues are permanently limiting future urban development. Nevada is essentially a massive real estate bubble waiting for a pin to drop. The psychology of the general public during a crisis is deeply predictable and highly dangerous. Most average citizens suffer from normalcy bias and outright refuse to see the clear warning signs. They trust that federal government intervention will somehow magically save their personal investments. Historically, government financial bailouts only protect large commercial banks and institutional investors. The average homeowner is always left behind to absorb the brutal financial impact. You cannot rely on external rescue when the housing market collapses. Number six on our list is Arizona. Similar to Nevada, this state has experienced explosive and highly unsustainable urban sprawl. Corporate developers have built thousands of homes in areas with rapidly depleting groundwater reserves. As basic water prices increase, the daily cost of living in these suburban zones will become impossible. Home values will inevitably plummet when basic utilities become a rare luxury. This harsh environmental reality makes Arizona a highly risky location for long-term survival. Coming in at number 7 is Colorado. The current cost of living in Colorado has completely decoupled from local median incomes. Rapid inflation has driven local housing prices far beyond the reach of normal working families. As national interest rates remain high, current homeowners simply cannot afford to refinance their debt. This creates a deeply stagnant market where nobody can afford to buy and nobody can afford to sell. A stagnant housing market is always the very first stage of a total economic collapse. Let us step back and look at the fragility of the global supply chain. The physical materials required to maintain and repair existing homes are rapidly becoming scarce commodities. International conflicts and shifting trade tariffs have heavily disrupted the flow of essential building goods. Even if you completely own your home, repairing it during a crisis will be incredibly expensive. This dynamic forces families to abandon damaged properties they can no longer afford to fix. This is a crucial factor that most financial analysts completely ignore. Number 8 on this critical list is Illinois. The state is currently buckling under the massive weight of unfunded public pension liabilities. To avoid complete bankruptcy, local municipalities are aggressively raising property taxes on everyday citizens. Homeowners are effectively being forced to pay for decades of government financial mismanagement. Many residents are simply walking away from their mortgages to escape the crushing tax burden. Illinois is a prime example of administrative failure destroying a local housing market. Number 9 is Washington State, specifically focusing on the vulnerability of the technology sector. The local housing market here was artificially inflated by massive, unsustainable tech industry salaries. Now, we are witnessing widespread corporate layoffs and downsizing across the entire technology sector. As these high-income earners lose their jobs, they will rapidly default on their expensive mortgages. This chain reaction will flood the market with foreclosures and drive down property values dramatically. The tech bubble and the local housing bubble will burst at the exact same time. We must also critically discuss the role of institutional investors in this impending crisis. Mega corporations have spent the last decade aggressively buying up single-family homes across the country. They converted these private properties into corporate rentals, artificially creating a massive housing shortage. When the market inevitably turns down, these corporations will liquidate their real estate assets instantly. This massive dump of housing inventory will completely crush the property values of average citizens. Make no mistake, they will always protect their corporate profits at your expense. The final state on our list, number 10, is Oregon. Strict local zoning laws and urban growth boundaries have severely restricted available land use. This artificial scarcity created by the government has driven housing prices to astronomical and unsustainable levels. At the same exact time, broader economic instability is causing a sharp rise in local unemployment. Homeowners are actively trapped in highly priced assets they cannot sell to a struggling population. Oregon represents a perfect, deadly storm of bad policy and rapid economic decline. So, what exactly happens when this massive 2026 housing bubble finally pops? We will see a historic nationwide wave of foreclosures that will quickly overwhelm local regional banks. Millions of families will face eviction, leading to a sudden and dangerous surge in homelessness. Credit markets will freeze entirely, making it impossible to secure loans for emergency survival. The social fabric of many communities will tear apart under this immense financial pressure. You need to thoroughly understand this timeline to effectively protect your own family. The most important question right now is how you can practically prepare for this event. First, you must reduce your personal debt as quickly as humanly possible. If you are locked into a high-interest mortgage in a vulnerable state, you are in the danger zone. Consider downsizing to a much more manageable property before the market completely crashes. Liquid assets and physical cash reserves will be crucial during the initial panic phase. Yes, making these strategic moves requires sacrifice, but survival always does. Long-term survival requires a fundamental psychological shift in how you view property and shelter. You should strongly consider off-grid living alternatives and building resilient local community networks. Look for rural property in states with low taxes, steady natural water supplies, and minimal building regulations. Learn the physical skills necessary to build, repair, and maintain your own shelter independently. Self-reliance is the ultimate unbreakable shield against a volatile and corrupt economic system. If you do not take control of your housing security now, the system will destroy it. The American dream, as we once knew it, is quickly fading into the history books. The 2026 housing crisis is a mathematical certainty driven by compounding national debt and inflation. If you live in one of the 10 states mentioned, you must evaluate your risks immediately. Do not sit around and wait for the government or the media to declare a national emergency. Take action today, prepare your critical resources, and secure a viable alternative plan. Stay vigilant, stay educated, and most importantly, stay prepared for the hard times ahead. If you found this video helpful, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more survival strategies, and I'll see you in the next video.